He's having too much fun.
Here's gesture 4.
Okay, this is a memory game. A little cognitive action along with physical. They have to remember ever longer sequences.
Now repeat the entire gesture sequence. Start with gesture 1 and end with gesture 4.
You can see what's coming.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Gesture 1.
So, that's actually very important, and we did this.
Repeat gestures 1 through 3.
This notion that the robot can get infinite, because it can remember endless sequences, and people can't. We all know about Miller's magic number, and that's you can only go so far. So it always ends up beating people. That's very important because for some people, if they're never beaten by the robot, they won't ascribe authority to it. It's just not smart enough. For others, of course, you have to give them enough nurture. So maybe they've been beaten, but you say that's pretty good. Next time we can do one more. And I can tell you with kids, because we did this with kids also, it was so important that they tried to beat the robot and then the robot beat them. That's what kept them coming back. It's like, no, I can do it, I can do it. You can't tell a kid that they'll never remember 80 moves. No, I can do it. So that's great. You gotta love that about kids. And that's really what you want. You want them to be doing all those exercises. So we're doing lots of things to further this. As I said, some of them even at Rancho here. Trying to do this. So I know I talk about a lot of things that seems very high level, but underneath it all, of course, under the hood, there are actual computational algorithms that have to run in real time, take real sensory data, be run in user studies. These are all pilot studies. None of this is at the level of what you would call a clinical study. It's all preclinical. And we're forever trying to get NIH money to make this larger. But I have to say right now, this is so popular with the NSF that I'm too worried. It's too hard to get NIH money. It's easy to get it from NSF, so less NSF. But really, that's a problem because NIH is not investing enough in technology development and combinations of technology. I mean, I like to say with this kind of work, and it's important work, not ours, but in a larger scale, understanding human behavior and adherence with technology for health outcomes. It's like the black hole of funding at NIH because one is technology, two, it's behavioral stuff. So, as we all know, that's difficult. But I think times are changing, so we'll see. So, I just want to play these two testimonials that people have seen, but they make my heart jump. So this is a boy with autism who says he's verbal.
But everything's good. But these robots are blinded. Everything's good with these robots.
Is it?
Yes.
Did you think something was going to be wrong with the robots?
Nothing's wrong with the robots.
Why do you think he's saying that? I still can't say this without getting goosebumps. We didn't know why he kept saying that. Because, and the therapist explained it to us. Because guess what the message is that this little boy gets many times a day from the world. There's something wrong with you. And so he's so excited. There's nothing wrong with the robot. My buddy, there's nothing wrong with it. So, if we can do something to help kids like that, that would be a big deal. And then here's our favorite participant. She's just so good at saying things even without being cued.
How nice to have someone, a robot, to tell you you're using your right hand. This is great. Instead of telling you, please use your right hand. Like my husband does.
I like to say we're done, it's finished, we don't have any work left to do. But actually, I think it's great because people always think the robots are the ones that are saying, use your right hand. So yeah, we like to think, I would like to, in my lifetime, have the notion of things being, quote, robotic disappear because robotics should become the cool stuff you want. But also, I feel really sorry for that poor guy. So, we can help her and the guy, the husband, who's had to support her all this time through her rehab, right? That's hard. So that's it. And these are the great people who help. So I will stop. Thank you. Do we have time for questions, or have I completely killed everyone? Yes.
I just wanted to hear the other voices.
Oh, the other voices?
The kid and the lady's voice, the one who said comments really reproducible.
Oh.
Yeah, like you got a video.
Oh, yeah, so...
You have to use your inner voice because...
Right. Okay, so...
Work out right. Maybe you can imitate it.
So, here's the problem. First of all, getting affect in speech is hard, synthetic affect. So getting artificial surprise, again, 6 basic emotions, right? So if you can get those in speech, it's hard. What people do these days is they hire professional actors to do voice simulations of emotion. And this is not easy, right? So, if I wanted you to sound happy or sound sad or sound surprised, you probably wouldn't be the best at it compared to an actor. So, no offense, but so people record this. But the trouble is, we want the robot to be infinitely generative, to be able to say all sorts of things. In fact, I wanted next year to be looking things up on the web, and because it knows when your birthday is or what team you're into, it can say things like, hey, you know what? I heard that, your team won yesterday. How did it hear? It can look it up on the web, right? Google search. But in order to generate all of these strings of speech automatically, we need to use synthetic speech. And so, right now, companies only create artificial speech for the markets that exist. And what markets exist? Things that you call up on the phone, those, automated phone lines. And so for that, it's mostly male, and it's 90% English. Some of it is Spanish. It's almost never female, and it's never kids' voices. So that's where we are. Now, people in research are creating those, but then it's not a commercial package. Frankly, I'd rather pay than bug my colleague in the next building to maintain a bug. But there's also this question of, we have these wonderful experiences where we have people, when we started in doing stroke, people told us, oh, you have to use female voices, because people are used to female therapists. And they like female therapists, and they're thought to be more caring, so you must use female voices. So we started with that. It was pre-recorded human speech, so it sounded really nice. But people looked at the robot and the voice, and they said, well, what? What is that? That's like, it talks like a girl, but it looks like a boy. And in fact, it turns out, all robots look like males. So to me personally, that robot that stands on the table looks like Princess Leia with the buns, but everybody thinks all of them are male. And we did this really nice study with the furry robot. I mean, who thinks that thing even has gender? The furry thing that farts. All of the first graders said, oh, it's boy, obviously it's a boy. Girls and boys always said, that's a boy. So we said, so this is, to me this was so telling. You saw it, it's pinkish, right? So we said, okay, what would help us? We wanted to make it more like a girl. So what would it take to make it more like a girl? And it doesn't even talk, right? There's no speak in that particular experiment. And they said, well, maybe if you made it pink. So we said, well, what color is the fur? Oh, it's kind of pink. Still it's a boy. So people can't resist projecting masculinity on these robots unless you really make them to be super female looking, which means you have to have breasts and all sorts of things, which I don't really have a use for on these robots. So I was asked by quite a prominent person, I will not name, whether they could be made with breasts. And I said, if we needed to nurse small children, then yes. But this gender thing is important, actually, because it really, I think for rehab, we don't understand enough, and it's worked so well so far that I don't worry about it. But especially with younger generations, I worry, because I really would like to be able to create machines that are not so readily typecast, like, oh, it's male. Why is it male? Why does it have to be male? Why does it have to be any gender? But it has to, because that's how we are wired. And so these are just the kinds of lessons we learn as we go along, unintentionally stumbling along the door. Any other questions? Thanks.